Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's amazing. Thank you for joining us today for an introduction to qualitative research design. The last time we had this workshop in the libraries, it was in person. So we're glad we're going to be holding it virtually this time around. So this workshop will basically, you know, focus on the rudiments of qualitative research design. So I'm going to be talking um, about a lot of things in qualitative research design, but not in depth. So because I just want to like pull us through for us to get an idea of what qualitative research is about. So come with me. So here is today's outline. We're going to be running through what qualitative research design is about, really, and we'll talk a little bit about qualitative data collection, and we'll also talk about qualitative data analysis. Where did I go? Okay, did I just open the handout? Yeah, okay. If you want to, um, I'm going to have to like send this slides after the workshop so that you can, in case you want to check out the handout for this workshop, you can have it. Okay, so what is qualitative research design? So whenever I think about qualitative research, I like to think about, things that has to do with quality, deep meanings. When you think about ontology, when you think about praxeology, axiology, things that has to do with human interactions, things that has to do with, in-depth analysis, things that has to do with their experiences, their perceptions, their behavior, and some of the reasons why they behave the way they behave, their ideologies. You think about culture. So it's more about the hows and whys rather than when you think about how many or how much, which is definitely towards the lens of quantitative. So you can have qualitative research design when you want to go through a research study, either as a standalone study or you can think about it as mixed methods, which means that qualitative research can allow you to have another research design, which is quantitative, of course, side by side. And that will determine on what you want to do with your study and what you want to, get out of it. So let's think about a little difference, a simple, very easy difference between a qualitative research question and a quantitative research question. So I have here for a quantitative, it says how many college students signed up for the new semester. You see, that has to do with numbers. How many? But when we think about how do college students feel about the new semester. Now we are diving into quality. We don't want to know much about how many anymore, but now we want to know about their perceptions, how they feel, what they are thinking. Now we want to go in depth. We want to go into quality. So you can have qualitative research as an exploratory research. Maybe you're trying to like learn something new. You're trying to get into like an ethnography, which we'll talk about in a jiffy. But you're trying to like learn some new things about a culture or some opinions about what is going on in a nation or in a society. Then you can have an exploratory research. You can also have it as a descriptive research when you're thinking about, and how this comes when you're thinking about your research. Either you're trying to like write an article, or you're just trying to like know about a culture or about a particular topic. So you can have it as descriptive. You just want to describe what you have seen, what you have learned, what you have researched. And you can also have it as an explanatory. Now you want to like go in depth. You want to explain what you've seen. You want to dive into, like I said, perceptions. You want to dive into what people are thinking, what they have experienced, about a particular phenomenon. So, is you can have it in any way. You can get it through text. You can get your qualitative data through video, through audio, through observation. You know, it's more about collecting and analyzing non-numerical data. However, some qualitative data can come in form of a numerical way, especially when you're thinking about a content analysis or a document analysis. But I hope we get to talk a little bit more about that further along. I'm trying to, because we have a lot to cover. So if you have any question about any slide, just a disclaimer, just let me know. I'll be more than happy, in the comment section, I'll be more than happy to address it. But I might be skipping some stuff so we can have time to cover all these things, we're thinking about. So let's talk about research paradigms and qualitative research. Oh, I love research paradigms because they kind of like give you a very great perspective, a very great positioning for your research, how you want to approach your research. So there are three major, they're more than this because more people are coming up with new ones that are like in between these three, somewhere along the line. But there are three major research paradigms. We have the positivist, we have the post-positivist, and we have the social constructivist. And people also call it constructivism. So here, what are we talking about when we think about positivist paradigm? Here are this group of people who think everything that we want to explain in this world can be done through natural science. So hey, they're saying that for us to explain any kind of phenomenon in this world, we can apply natural science as well as social sciences. What they're trying to say is that no matter what you're trying to get into in your research, natural science, which is, when we think about quantitative methods, can help you explain it all. Well, here is another group, post-positivists, are saying that this group are saying that, you know, we agree that natural science, quantitative research can help us explain a lot of phenomena, but they are saying that it cannot help us explain 100% about our world. Oh my God, our world is so complicated. We have different things happening. We have different cultures, different ideology, different ideologies. We have different experiences, and that natural science alone, can help us explain the social world. Like there are fundamental limits in which natural science can go. So here are the post-positivists in the middle. They are saying right in the middle. And here is the social constructivist. They're saying that no, no, man, like natural science cannot help us explain our world. They're saying our world is not fixed, it's so complex, it's so interesting. There are different people having different interactions, different culture, different race, different ideology, different ways of thinking, different social status. And so our natural science can help us explain our world. They are not saying that they can help us explain it to an extent. They're saying no, they don't think it can help us explain our world because the world is very subjective and not objective. So here are these like three paradigms, three lenses where most people write their articles, their research, and what have you from. Anytime I get an opportunity to serve as a peer reviewer of an article or something, I like to focus, especially when it's a qualitative research. These are some of the things that I look at to see what lens is this person writing from. So that would help me, review it in the best way that I can. So I don't know how this would look like online virtually, but the last time we had this workshop, we had this, exercise that was, amazing. I hope that we get to like see maybe one comment or so we can move on. But I want to like challenge us a little bit. I know that some of you already have your paradigms, you already own your worldview, but I want you to share with us. And if you don't have any yet, I want to like get you thinking, and maybe you can think about one you feel like you fit best into. So based on your knowledge about these three paradigms, what paradigm would you say describes your ideology the most, or your way of research the most, and why? Um, does anybody want to like share in the comment section? If not, so I'm just going to like give us 2 minutes to think about that. If anyone wants to type that, um, it'll be great. But let me just come back here. But yeah, does anyone want to share? You can put it down in the Q&A. I'm happy to see, but I'm just going to give us like 2 minutes, you know, to think about it, and then we can go on. I mean, even if you don't have why, you can just like, if you just think you're part of like a paradigm that you fit best to, you can just share. I want to hear your thoughts. So I'm going to give you like 1 to 2 minutes to think about it, and then we continue with our presentation. And just so to be sure, Brian, I'm sure people can post in the comment, I mean in the Q&A, right?
Yes, people can post in the Q&A, and they can also chat with, they can also use chat.
I can read Vanessa's thoughts. So interesting. So um we can like maybe have one more that we can talk about, but others, like, just feel free to like even put what you feel like your paradigm you know is. So we're just gonna wait like 30 more seconds to see if anyone else is willing to share before we go on. Okay, we'll go on. While waiting, in case anyone else wants to add. Vanessa, I think this is like this is amazing, because I love the fact that your research paradigm fits finely to your research interest. There's no wrong or right one. I know sometimes we get into researchers and scholars get into this conversation about research paradigms, thinking of which is best, but there's no wrong or right one. It's just it's about just owning your reality and embracing it. So, but one thing I like to ask people is I like for them to think about their research paradigm alongside their research interests, their research objectives, and that is, very well placed. In what you just shared with us. So thank you for sharing it with us. You said the social constructivist paradigm fits most with my research approach because I am interested in studying how we come to construct narratives about race over time. That is really super interesting. Thank you for sharing. So that's what I was trying to get to make sure that our paradigm fits well with our research narrative, with our objectives, with our research question. Super important. So thank you for sharing. Okay, going back. So let's just go on. So that being said, now that we kind of like have um an idea of research paradigms, let's now think about research questions because they are neatly put together. Um, when we think about research questions generally, not even talking about qualitative now, and one thing I like to mention to people is I tell them, don't try to be research trendy. Like, don't try to do what everyone else is doing because you feel that's what everyone is talking about. I mean, it's great if it's an important topic and you feel like you want to explore it, but let it come from your passion. And so do something that you love. Usually that's when we do things that when we research on something that we appreciate or have knowledge about or want to truly explore, that help us, get along the research down the line and, go further and do amazing things with it. So most importantly, also try to check, others who have researched around that area, try to garner theoretical knowledge and people who have done work on it before and then incorporate it to what you're about to do. That would give you a great wing, or your wings to ride on. So, but most importantly, do your due diligence, make sure that you have enough literature to back up your research, relevant literature to be more precise, and just go for it. Go for something that is most meaningful to you, and that's how you can create a research question that will truly stand the test of time for you personally. So, but when we think about qualitative research question, of course, we had mentioned this before. Um, uh, you know, you need to like think about not, the how many's and the how much, but dive into the hows and whys. We're talking about the thoughts of people, what they are currently exploring, their minds, their perspective. And when you think about a qualitative research, there is not one answer. There are numerous answers. There might even be few answers that would be expressed in different ways. So you're thinking about the thoughts of people. An example of a good qualitative research question would be, what are people's thoughts on the new library? You see that? It does not say how many. I mean, this is like the most condensed and, simplest types of questions. When it comes to, real life research, they're, a little bit more cumbersome than this. But just for you to like get the idea. There's some research that are, actually as simple as this. What are people's thoughts on the new library? And another example is, how does it feel to be a first generation student attending college? You see the keywords: how, feel, thoughts, So when you think about your research question in qualitative research, you have to like explore the opinions on people rather than just seeking for numbers. I need to rush now because we almost have time. Okay. So, and sorry, this disclaimer. I'm sorry I didn't mention this in the beginning of the. I just love when it comes to qualitative research because we're talking about people's feelings, their interaction. So the best place to have an interactive class is when having a qualitative research design workshop. So I didn't mention that, so forgive me because I'm going to throw another easy exercise on you now. And I just want to make sure that we get us thinking to think, when you want to think about a good qualitative research question, well, what would you say would be an example for you for one good or one bad qualitative research question? What makes a good and bad based on the examples that we give? So I just need like one person or at most two to share something simple, an example of one bad qualitative research question, an example of one good qualitative research question, and we can just talk about it a little bit and move from there. So I'm going to give, because of our time, I can't believe we're almost half, almost getting to 2:30 already. So I'm going to just give us like 2 minutes to think about something, and then we get talking again. Just to mention, you can think of something really simple, like what resonates with you as an example of a good qualitative research question and a not so good qualitative research question. I would like to hear at least one person's thoughts on it. If you're willing to share, I'm going to give us 1 minute more. If not, we can just go ahead. Someone here saying, how does it feel to be bilingual? Is that what you mean? Bilingual and have a cultural center? Yeah. Yes. I mean, how is the catch already? Like you're spot on the how. Like how is the catch? So even though I think there might be I hope I understand your question fully, but I can already tell that it's a good, oh, no longer, okay, I see. To no longer have the research, oh my God. Oh, even though that's a great you know, qualitative research question. I'm a little bit in my fear because I know there used to be Core Lab accessible to everyone, but now we are in the process of, probably having it back. So that's something that is really happening in the university right now. So, but thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. That's a great example. That's a very great example because now you're thinking about how. Of course, when you say how, you're sure to like get in-depth answers. You're sure to like get personal answers that resonate with people differently. So that's an awesome example of a good qualitative research question. A bad one would be going along line with that beautiful example. How many students were at the research center before it closed up? Like, really? No, that's not a good qualitative research question. So we're not thinking about how many, we're thinking about, in-depth analysis, quality, how, why. Okay, so let's just quickly run through sampling techniques in qualitative research. Um, there are diverse sampling techniques in qualitative research. Um, Usually we have both probability and non-probability sampling technique, but usually non-probability sampling techniques are used when it comes to qualitative research. For example, probability sample, we have, simple random, we have cluster sampling. Usually they are more used in quantitative research. But for qualitative, we have purposive, we have convenience, we have snowball. Purposive, this means that you're thinking very purposively about the group of people you just to also mention, these sampling techniques are usually many times used in quantitative, but are more used when we think about qualitative research. So for purposive sampling, you might be thinking about a particular culture, a particular group that you want to investigate on. Maybe you're thinking about investigating on what is happening in the Native American communities, or you can also come through it using convenience sampling. Now you're thinking you're doing this research according to the audience or the participants you're able to assess. So now you just go anyone you are able to find based on the confines of your research, you use them as your participants. We also have snowball sampling. And this is kind of like a rolling sampling where you meet someone, maybe you're conducting an interview. You meet someone and you conduct an interview with them on a particular topic, and they refer you to two more people, and those two more people refer you to four more people. So that's like a snowball. So they keep referring you until you get to your state of saturation where you're, contented, you've had your desired results. So it's when you're thinking about your sampling technique, it can, have an high impact on the results you get, because the quality of people that you get to interview or you get to observe or would have, a great impact in the outcome of your research. And there's a lot I want to talk about on this slide, but because we have one more, just please, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have in mind as you get along, because I want to make sure I touch everything and then we can quickly focus on specifics that people might need answer on. Okay, so let's think about data collection, qualitative data collection. There are diverse ways to conduct data collection and qualitative research. You can use surveys. I don't know, many people, when I get to meet them, some of them are not aware that surveys are also data instruments when it comes to qualitative research. You can actually use surveys to collect your data and then analyze it qualitatively. So it's okay to collect your data using surveys when you're thinking about the one qualitative research, but it then matters on how you analyze your results. If you want to talk more about that, I'll be happy to share. But let's think about interviews. You can also use interviews for data collection, open-ended, close-ended. Most of us already know this, if not all of us. Think about focus groups, think about people like to say that 8 to 12 participants are actually great. For me, usually when I conduct focus groups, I like to stick to 4 to 6. That's just my personal preference, but you can have up to 12 people in your focus group. But when it's smaller for me, I'm able to like hear people more. They're able to express themselves more. And also depending on the time we have to share. Also think about observation. That's also a good way to collect data. You can be a participant observer. You can be a non-participant. Think about records and archival review as well, which is great when you're thinking about a content or document analysis. So those are great ways to collect data when it comes to qualitative research. I'm just talking about surveys a little more because I already mentioned like so you have different types of surveys. You can do different ones, paper surveys, telephone surveys, in-person surveys where you share your questions, panel surveys when you're doing a longitudinal studies, different types of surveys that can be appropriate based on the type of research that you're working on. Also interviews, you can think of structured, semi-structured, and unstructured interview. You know, semi-structured, that is that you can have sub questions. You can open up your questions and ask it in other ways, in different ways, and they are not rigid. But structured interviews are like very rigid. You have to like have it the way you have to ask it the way that you have put it down, because that might determine the impact of your analysis or your documents, I mean, your discussion section in your write-up. So just know what you want to do, what you want, and then you can approach your questions um, using that form. When it comes to structured, you have to like stick to what you, if you want your yes or no answer, you have to like stick to that. Semi-structured, of course, semi-structured and unstructured are not limited to yes or no's. They are usually more explorative, where you talk more, a lot more about that, about your topic. So gaining entry and access for data collection, this is super important because this is where the most universities come in. One thing that I like to say, that is, I feel like is important, that is, very important, that is relatable this day, is that when you're thinking about getting your documents to IRB for approval, make sure that some of the things that they tell you to do, some of the things that they had mentioned, or reach out to other people, just make sure that you pay attention to some of the things that they've asked you to do. And when you're reaching out to people to collect data, you cannot go through a third party. That is, if I am a researcher, I cannot give you surveys to help me pass it along to someone else to fill it. No, you have to like send it directly to them. That's why usually people, use like uh what have you, what do we use where we get people to fill out surveys? They use different things, different online strategies, online surveys, just so that people can access it through a link. But what you can do is you can email people you can email someone a survey document and ask them to send it to others. No, I don't know why that is so, but that is not right. That is, they're saying that is, you can't do that when you're a researcher. So you can they can go through a link, but you cannot, have people sending your surveys out on your behalf. So also when you're thinking about gaining entry for your research, for example, when you're thinking about a group of people that you want to, meet, some professionals or some, people who are knowledgeable in a particular area, you have to be able to strategize to meet those people. There are some people that you get, for example, in the community, that are usually called gatekeepers. Those are the kind of people that would lead you, that would, introduce you to, the appropriate participants that would be relevant for your study. So this means that you have to build a collaborative, rapport with the community you're trying to explore. If you're trying to, for example, get into maybe a community that you're not familiar with when it comes to their language, then you have to look for a gatekeeper that can help you assess that. If you're looking for maybe a community that is very knowledgeable in a particular field, you have to look for someone who can help you get access, who they trust. Usually that's how people get faster connection with the community, and that's how they also get better results when it comes to filling surveys or getting people to interview with. So just have that at the back of your mind. Make sure you explain all the benefits that will come up, either it's material or non-material benefits. It's usually important for people to get the full knowledge of your research and what they're about to gain doing it, so that there won't be questions along the line or misunderstandings. Also, thinking about, and don't mind me, you see that some of these topics like are like kind of like different from each other. This is because I want to kind of like run us through the entire, knowledge of what qualitative research entails. So we just spoke about gaining entry, and now we're talking about traditions, and we're talking about paradigms, we're talking about different things. That's because I am trying to put together. I mean, I spent like spent like almost 2 years learning about qualitative research. So there's no way we can I mean, just learning in education. I've continued to learn after that. But so there's definitely no way we can do this in 1 hour. So if you have any questions, if you want to get more clarity on something, I'm very happy to help after this. But these are some of the traditions or research methodologies, like you have it, that are usually most appropriate for qualitative data collection. When you're talking about when you're thinking about qualitative research, you can either go through ethnography, that's when you're thinking about knowing more about the culture. You can think about a case study if you're thinking about a particular case, and something happened, a particular event, and you want to make it a case study. And think about phenomenology, content analysis, action research, hermeneutics, observation study. There are more of them. Way theory, there are different ones that you could explore. Also, oh my God, this is very, very critical when we think about qualitative research. It's called the qualitative analysis impact triangle. As a qualitative researcher, anytime you're, doing your research in any way, I don't know. It does not matter any type of research you're doing. So far, it's a qualitative research. You have to think about three aspects. You have to think about three groups of people. First, you have to think about yourself as the researcher. You have to think about the research participants, and you have to think about the community of practice. And what are we thinking about them? You have to think about the impact of your current research, on your personal self as a researcher. What are you planning to get out of this research? And of course, that's where all your research objectives, research questions, and what have you come in. Then you have to think about your research participants, or those that are going to participate in this research. What direct or indirect benefits, or what material and non-material benefits are they going to get out of this? You cannot be conducting a research and have your research participants, participate in your research, and at the end of the day, they are not really getting anything out of it. This can be like a group benefits. It can be something that is intangible. But make sure that your research is like trying to solve a problem for them, trying to make them aware, better aware of a phenomenon. Just something. There has to be a benefit. And then also the community of practice, the area where you're conducting the research, amongst the group of people, because your research participants are just probably a subset of the whole group you're trying to explore. So think about that group, that community, that community you're trying to explore, and think about the holistic benefits for them. And when I talk about benefit, like I said, it does not have to be material in any way. It can just be your contribution to knowledge, but in a way that it would also benefit your community. So think about yourself. Um, what benefit would this research be to your study? Think about your research participants. Also think about your community of practice. So qualitative data analysis. This is like probably one of the most important parts of qualitative research, because now it has to do with the analysis of what you've collected. Now this is the major part, because after we've collected all our data, so what is the data telling us? And that's where qualitative coding comes in. Usually many years ago, people just code through their hands, and they try to go through Excel and things like that, what have you. But now in the last 30 years now, or even more recently, 20 years, we have more qualitative software packages that can be used for coding. And we're going to talk about them in a jiffy. But what is coding basically? It's just, when you assign nodes, when you assign teams, when you assign what's it called? Specific results to everything you have found out, when you're able to draw out the most important thing from your data, and then you assign them under each other. They're called codes. And we're going to be having a qualitative analysis workshop on NVivo and MassQDA, which are qualitative software packages. And I think one is going to happen tomorrow on NVivo, and the other is going to happen in April. So if you want to learn more about qualitative coding, that's like a great time to, join for us to explore it together. So that's what coding is all about. Just gathering your teams and then using your teams to explain what you found, basically, you know. That's just what it's all about. So it helps you as a researcher when you have your codes, which are usually your teams. You can have parent codes and subcodes, which are called, parent team and sub teams, or daughter codes, and that will help you garner your thoughts properly and bring out new and unexplored results from the data you've collected. So um, I wish we had time to do this, but I'm not going to go into your turn. But let me just quickly say this. So an example of a code here is, we're talking about, for example, it's two dogs walked up to me and wagged their tails. Or for example, summer is a great season to eat ice cream. So here, just looking at these two great examples, you know that dogs and summer are the codes here. Why? Because they are the teams. They are the teams that walked is not a team for this for the two dogs walked up to me and wagged their tails. Walked is not a team because it's not the center. It is not the center of discussion in this sentence. So for that sentence, dogs, the two dogs, are what we are discussing about. So your code in your research can be collaboration. It can be research learning. It can be, so it has to be something that is very encapsulating and overarching, that your discussions, your ideas can come under. So that's what makes for a good code or a good team. So, I mean, there are different ways to code. You can, when it comes to transcribing some of the things that you have in your data collection documents, you can use Zoom. Zoom now automatically helps to transcribe. But most importantly, there are different ones, different ways, transcription softwares all over the place now. We have Max, Whisper, Podcasto, but let's talk about ways of coding. I think that's the important thing I want to highlight here. So there, now even on counting now, I used to think there are 34 ways, but I discovered a few weeks ago that there are more coming up now. But at least they are up to 34 ways to code your data. You can of course use hand coding, and now, like I mentioned, you can use qualitative analysis software packages. Now if you want to submit your article, your reviewer will give more credence to your work if you use software packages compared to if you use hand coding, because they're usually more reliable and also valid. So these are some of the, software packages we have. We have NVivo and we have MassQDA currently in the university libraries. They're available for your use. So if you want to explore them, you can just reach out to me or any of the library researchers. They'll be more than happy to help and assist you and send you to the appropriate quarters to explore the software packages. So we have many of them. We have many of them that are useful for coding your research. I just talked about teams and sub-teams. Um, we had talked about parent code and subcodes. If you have any questions on this codes when it comes to qualitative coding, just reach out to me. I'll be happy to share with you. But there's one thing I want to share on how to code. There are different ways to code, especially when you're using your software packages. You can decide to code word for word. Oh my God, that's actually impossible, but just for the case of professionalism, I have to mention it, that you can decide to code word for word. But that's going to be a lot. Like nobody codes word for word, but you can decide to code sentence by sentence, and you can decide to code paragraph by paragraph. For example, if you have your interview data, interviews, and you have them, already transcribed, and you want to code them, you want to bring out the major themes for them. Usually, I code paragraph by paragraphs. Sometimes I even do two paragraphs. You can code them paragraph by paragraph, and then they will appear that way in your code analysis book when you're done. Okay, so there are different, approaches or stages to coding. We have the first cycle, second cycle, and the third cycle coding. The first cycle is, which we'll share quickly, is usually a little bit rough. The second cycle is more refined. First cycle, you can even use your hands, to, sketch it out. And second cycle, when it comes to second cycle, you can, upload it up to your software online, whichever you're using, and then touch cycle coding. That's when you actually do the coding from your software. And I know this is more just quite ambiguous for some people, especially if you've not used any of the software packages before. But like I said, I'm very happy to help if you're doing a research that is on that, and we have workshops coming up on that if you're willing to join as well. So we also have deductive and inductive coding, so for deductive, you just, kind of like test your teams from data. You confirm from data. You kind of like already have your teams already. That was when I was talking about first circle coding. You can like have your teams already and then code. I mean, of course, if you're doing the research, you kind of like have an idea of what your teams are based on the interviews or whatever you've done. But you can have those themes already, then code under them. So you confirm those themes from your data. However, for inductive coding, it's not like that. You're going to code first and let your data speak to you. So you draw out your themes from you draw out your themes from actual words, actual understanding. When I mean actual words, I mean it like actual words that you collect from the data you've explored. For example, if you're doing an inductive coding, if collaboration is not literally in your data, you cannot say that it is induced. So you let your data speak to you, then you code and generate your code from the themes from your data. And so this a first circle sample where you do it yourself. You kind of like pen it down. I like to give an operational definition to my code as well. What does collaboration mean for my study? So what does research learning means for my research, So that's how you define your codes or your teams when it comes to quality. Then second circle is a little bit looking more refined now. Then you can decide to add subcodes or daughter codes if you have any, and even add examples if you want. And this is when you can also even decide to upload your documents into NVivo or MassQDA, and then type them in and insert them in and then you begin to think about your third circle coding, and now it is like full blown. You are sure that these are your codes. This is an example, an expert from a dissertation. So then in third circle coding, you're like finished. You bring them together. You are sure about your description. You are sure you can even have an abbreviation code for your codes. And so in third circle coding makes more sense and it's more grounded. So let's quickly talk about validity, reliability, and confidentiality. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like literally running now because of our time. So when it comes to reliability of your qualitative data, before you can say that your data is reliable, you need to get to a data saturation level when you are, collecting data. For example, if you're doing an interview in a qualitative study, you have to at least, get to 12 to 15, according to Vertex, you have to get to 12 to 15 participants and interview them. before you can truly say that you've reached a state of saturation. And what is a state of saturation, of data saturation? This is a state where you find out that the results you are beginning to garner from your participants are beginning to sound alike. That is, once you're getting to your eighth, your ninth, your 10 participant, you're beginning to have a recycle of either codes or topics or problems, and you feel like, okay, this is truly a problem. This is truly, you feel like you have truly gotten the answer you want from your research. That means that you're getting to a state of saturation. I mean, you cannot determine what that answer is, but for sure, you have to get to a state where you feel like your questions are being answered. And usually when, for example, when it comes to interviews or focus group, you have to like at least have 10 and 12 to 15 people to get that assurance. Some people have less, some people have more, and that's largely depending on um, the capacity of your research, and either on a national level, on a state level, on a local level. It will depend on that. Also, for reliability's sake, when you code your data, usually when you submit, I don't know if all journals do that, but when you submit your work, usually they ask for reliability to say that, is there anyone else who recorded this with you, who recorded your topic, your data with you, and got similar results. So you have to like have that. That's why you need a field researcher, the partner in your research who can help you record, and you guys agree on the codes. Also, there's something called inter-rater reliability check. After you record, usually when you're using a software package, you then upload it. You upload your different documents, and you do what we call the kappa coefficient score. Anyone who is interested in that, I can show you. But for you to say that you guys are agreeing, you and your field researchers have agreed on a particular set of codes, you have to have between 0.8 and 1 synergy. That is, you have to agree at least 80% of the time in your documents. Also, when you are thinking about confidentiality in your work, you can add unique identifiers to the data collected. So instead of saying Brian or Vanessa said this, in the interview, you can just say participant A said. So that's an example of unique identifiers, especially if the participant is not willing to be known. So you have to keep them anonymous. So these are some of the ones, like I mentioned, we have in the library. We have in Vivo and Masquidia in the library. If you want to explore them, feel free to reach out to us. And so, oh, that's good. Awesome. Okay, so also these are some of the uh you know books, articles, what have you. I think I only have books here, yeah, that I would like to recommend. This Advancing Cultural Responsive Research, and researchers, for example, if you're doing something like an ethnography or a case study research, this would like be a really good book. Interestingly, Professor Penny Pasque who is one of the authors of this book, is also one of our professor here at the Ohio State University. So I recommend the book tremendously, heavily. I recommend it. But these are some of also Moses and Knudsen Ways of Knowing is a great book as well. If you're thinking about exploring more on qualitative research generally, then you can think about Sandana as well if you're thinking about coding. Saldana's book is very good when it comes to coding for qualitative research. Yes, so I hope that I'm able to like at least check up some knowledge, about what qualitative research is holistically. And of course, we can then dive into some other questions. If you have any, you can just shoot me an email. I'll be happy to help and to respond. But let me know if you have any questions. And thank you for listening. Thank you so much for making it, for coming. I really appreciate your time. So, does anyone have any questions that you'd like to share with me? Okay. Oh my God, I have so many questions here. Oh, okay. Oh wow, I didn't see this before now. I can see some of your wonderful examples of good qualitative research question. Very, very awesome. So I think I'm pronouncing Kim. If I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Awesome example. How? That's the catch. That's the catch. Joel, perception. That's the catch. Like those are the things that you think about when it comes to qualitative research. Um, awesome example. And thank you so much for joining. I hope I'm right on time, 2:57. If Brian is still here. And if you have any questions, you can ask here if it's something that you feel like I can answer in an instance, or you can just reach out to me. I'm one email away. Um, help with your, but thank you. Thank you so much for joining. And over to you, Brian.
Well, we just dropped an event survey link in the chat. If you
Oh,
would like to fill it
awesome.
out, that'd be great. And then if that's all, we'll wrap up the event. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and
Brian
end the
gone?
event for Brian. Okay,
Okay.
bye-bye. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.